Okay, thank you everybody for joining us for that truly incredible film. We would love to do a filmmaker Q&A right now, so if I could get J.R. Stokes and anyone else who was involved with the making of the film up here who'd like to speak on behalf of the production, we'd love to hear some more about it. You're good, okay. So if you guys could just introduce yourselves, if you don't mind saying how old you guys are and the role that you had in the film.
My name's Alexandra Totillo. I played Cynthia and I'm 18.
My name is J.R. Stokes. I'm 19, freshly turned 19. I was 18 when I made the film. I directed, wrote, and edited the film, along with a few other things. And I also played the role of Big Trap as well, the antagonist on the film.
Awesome. So before I get to any questions, I just want to say that this film truly, truly blew us away. It blew us away so much we couldn't even put it in part as the competition because it just blew every other film away that was submitted. Both of your guys' performances were so good. The story was so good.
Thank you.
It was such a professional production. The fact that you guys are 18 and 19 is really crazy to me. Like a filmmaker that has been working for decades could have made this film. I'm being completely serious.
Thank you.
So the first thing that I would love to hear is your filmmaking experience prior to this. If you'd made any films before, if this was your first one, and how you found yourself making this incredible feature movie.
I think I grew up with sort of like a fascination for videos and recording me and my friends doing skits and stuff, and that sort of evolved through a few different forms of media and like animation and stuff. And well, recently, probably last year, I made the decision to direct a short film, like a gothic horror short film inspired by like Edgar Allan Poe and stuff. And so that was my branch into like live action filmmaking, breaking away from like animation and stuff. And I guess like working with like animation, that was sort of like my film school, like my mini film school in a way. But yeah, EdgeX is my debut feature film. So yeah.
That's amazing. So I'd love to hear about any inspiration that you had for this film in particular, if there was any filmmakers or any media that inspired you.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Darren Aronofsky and Sean Baker, so
Okay, yeah.
I love Sean Baker. And I think that Requiem for a Dream, which I made her watch at the beginning of the film's production, but Requiem for a Dream served as like a huge inspiration, and also I think just the topic of adolescent substance abuse is a very serious discussion that is still being had within my generation. And so I have quite a few friends that I feel replicate a lot of the characteristics that are seen within the characters, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. So on that note, I'd love to hear about how you feel about depicting such like serious material in this film, particularly drugs and addiction, and if you felt any responsibility to portray it in any certain way.
Yeah, I think the portrayal of adolescent substance abuse was a topic that we all took very seriously, and specifically with Allie's character, that was based on someone that I had known, and I sort of knew of her story, and it was such a powerful, evocative story, and so a lot of what you see in Allie's character is directly pulled from someone real. But I also think not even specific to one single person, but I think just a lot of people within my generation can maybe relate to this film, or even parents or uncles. You know, they all, I think there's always going to be someone out there like a character in the film, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, Ali, I'd love to hear about your experience playing Cynthia. You did such an incredible job, and I'd love to hear about like your acting experience in general and how you connected to this character and what you learned through this experience.
Yeah, so I've never done a film before.
That's unbelievable. Like, I don't believe you. Like, seriously, you were so good.
And I've really only ever done musical theater, like really not serious roles.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really crazy, like going into this having never done a film and never acted like seriously, like never. But I really do like love acting, and it was really fun. I really liked it.
That's really cool. Did you do anything in particular to like get connected to the character?
I feel like I just had to be, when we got there, like I would sit and we would both like get in bad moods. Like he would listen to music.
Yeah, this is true.
What would you listen to?
A lot of really, really like heavy metal and stuff.
Gotcha.
And I also think to add on to sort of the process behind getting into character and from a director standpoint, observing Ali's really wonderful process of getting into character. We had a lot of private conversations about that sort of thing and depicting such really sort of troubling material. And I think it's sort of sunk both of us to a really dark place at times, especially on set, you know, and that took a little bit of recovery time outside of that. So
absolutely, I can only imagine. So even past just your guys' characters, there were some really incredible performances in this, some really like disturbing performances, moving performances. So I would just love to hear about your experience directing some of these actors and how you found them, if they were like just your friends, or I would have believed they were actors acting for decades, to be honest.
Some of them were my friends, and specifically Cade and Randy, who played the two protagonists, Randy, Chester and Jimmy. The two protagonists of the film, they wanted to do the film with me because I brought up the idea to Cade, who played Chester. I brought up the idea to him, and he brought his close friend, Randy, who played Jimmy. He brought him in, and then from there, they sort of both took on this producer role, and they really believed in what I was doing as a creative, and so they had a lot of acting friends and that sort of thing, and they brought a lot of people in just based off of their confidence in what I wanted to do. And you know, from the very first meeting with Randall and Cadence, I said to them, I'd like to make a film that doesn't seem like it was made by teenagers, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and also I think just, again, having that confidence from actors of Ali's quality and some of the other actors in the film, that made my job as a director a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really incredible. So it's definitely not a small feat that you guys, as such young people, made a feature film, and it's something really hard to do. So I would love to know what the biggest roadblocks you faced through this project were, and sort of how you overcame them and eventually achieved your goal.
Well, I think one of the biggest roadblocks was probably, at least for Ali, maybe like school, like going to school and then coming to set later on.
Were you like in high school?
Yeah, I was
Wow.
in high school.
Yeah.
For me, it was probably begging my parents to drive me to the different locations and yeah, hoping that they would, which they did, thankfully. But yeah, that was probably the most stressful thing. I think making movies should always be enjoyable, even if it's paid or not paid, it should always be enjoyable. And I think that goes to also for art as well in general, and music and that sort of thing. It should be enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So, and then roadblocks, it wasn't the end of the world, you know, we were just making a film.
That's great.
It's also really cold outside.
That was a huge
yeah?
roadblock,
Yeah,
actually.
that was a big one.
Any of the outside scenes that you see in the film were incredibly cold, and it was very uncomfortable. But outside of that, it was really cool.
That's awesome. So we had a couple of filmmaker panels earlier in the day where we talked to some filmmakers who were featured throughout this festival. And one statement that almost everybody said was that they were really dreaming of making a feature film, that they had submitted short films to this competition, and a feature film is something that they're hoping to do one day soon. So I'd just love to know if you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers who who are hoping to make something of this magnitude in the future?
Well, I'm still aspiring myself.
Well, you actually did it though, so in a way, not really.
I think that it's a tough concept to get past, but there is really nothing that is stopping someone from just getting a good group of people together and just scheduling a month worth of shooting, you know? And even if that's spread out week to week, there's just nothing that's stopping you, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I think also there's no other obstacle that I want to get in my way when it comes to filmmaking, you know? I want to make my films my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really incredible. There were a lot of elements of the movie that I thought were really fantastic. One of them was the makeup in this film was unreal to me. Like, it was concerningly real looking. I was worried at a few points. You were looking pretty bad in there towards the end. It's like, how much worse could she look?
Yeah, it looked really rough. And it got worse. It did.
I'm glad to see you today. You look very nice.
Thank you.
I'd love to hear more about the makeup process throughout this film.
We have an incredible makeup artist who is just the most reliable person in the world. And unfortunately, she got COVID this past week. She really wanted to be here. So I'm sure she'll appreciate you saying that. But we had a really incredible young makeup artist, and you know, she was our friend, and we said, hey, you want to do makeup for our film? And so, you know, I sent her some concept photos and that sort of thing, and she kind of just went in and did her thing, and you know, it was really, it was great, you know, it was great. As a director, some of the time she took her sweet time sometimes, but that's fine because she was really phenomenal, and she completely made the film, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so
totally.
She also always covered us in that fake sweat.
Yes, she drenched us. That's why we all look so moist in the film, sweaty.
That's so funny. Another aspect of the film that I thought was truly impeccable was the score of the movie. I felt really signified a lot of the emotions of the characters.
Yeah.
So I'd just love to hear more about the score in general.
We had a really great composer on board, Dina Mondello, who throughout probably a 3-month process, week to week, we checked in, and you know, it was a really cool opportunity for myself to work with her, and she's really into like horror film scoring, so this was sort of a new ball game for her, you know, scoring something that's more dramatic. But no, it was a really cool process working with such a great composer.
Yeah, that's really cool. So another thing that I'm wondering is there anything in particular that you're hoping audiences will take away from this film?
I think that the biggest takeaway for audiences in general is to check in on people, you know, and check in on the people that are having a bad day or just having a bad week, or people that are maybe hung up on something, you know, like substance related, you know. I think people who are addicted to some sort of substance, they're not to be villainized. I think we need to have more compassion for them. And adolescent substance abuse is a very, very real issue in my generation, and it's definitely a topic that needs to be looked at more effectively.
Yeah, and this film definitely achieves that.
Thank you.
So I'd love to take any questions from the audience if anybody has anything.
2 super quick ones, if that's okay.
Of course.
Okay, no, go blank. One of them. When you were outside and you're filming a lot of the like yelling scenes and stuff like that, were there like people around at any point that like said anything about it or like got concerned or whatever? I'm just curious.
The ending scene.
There was one time we were in the alley scene, the cops got called.
Yeah, at the very start of the movie, when her character and the protagonist, when they were shooting up heroin, which is a very silent scene, but that was in a relatively sketchy neighborhood, and I guess some people thought we were, you know, being delinquents, and so they called the police, and the police came, and they were actually really chill with what we were doing, and they just let us film. But as far as like any point in the film where we're screaming, like the end confrontation scene between her character and the protagonist, The only complaint we got was from Randy's mom. We were shooting at Randall's house, who plays Jimmy in the film. And his mom was like texting him and calling him like, hey, why are they so loud? Why are they yelling and stuff? So otherwise, everyone I think was pretty chill with it. So thankfully.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I'm just curious, what did you shoot the movie on?
I shot the film on a Canon R6 Mark II, mostly on a 50mm prime lens.
I just wanted to ask, first off, what was it like getting a crew together? I mean, both of you guys assumingly just straight out of high school, or you were still in high school as you're working on this. So what was it like getting a crew together, and then also the locations? Like, there was a lot of different, you know, sets there, so.
In terms of getting a crew together, you know, it was kind of an all-hands-on-deck effort, so our makeup artist, Demi, was doing a lot of other things other than makeup, and you know, we had some friends help out. Mainly it was just friends that I taught how to do something, and they just came and did it, you know, and that was really that. And as far as locations go, some of them we didn't have permission for, some of them we just kind of, you know, got the camera rolling. But any location you see inside, like a friend's house, or, you know, a parent's house, or a relative's house, or, you know, just sort of, I guess, an interconnection to get a location, you know, so, yeah. That's cool.
Any other questions?
I love the score,
Thank you.
but at times, even with his headset dialed all the way up, I couldn't understand the dialogue.
Yeah.
Was that intentional? And have you considered closed captions?
I think there was some technical issues in the mix here specifically, because at other venues we've had a much clearer sounding mix. But also I think some of the music does drown out some of the dialogue at times, and that's something that we'll definitely visit before the premiere of the film. So thank you for your question.
Any other questions?
Comment.
We can go back to Joan first, yeah.
Since this does involve the issue of substance abuse, have you considered providing literature about naloxone and where people could get training where they could actually get it to prevent some deaths?
I think that was always a great concept that we wanted to put out. And on our social medias, we actually had a fundraiser for the New York Recovery Alliance Foundation. We were selling t-shirts, and all proceeds were going to that foundation, and we were sort of putting that out there on our social medias. I think as far as our film goes, our primary focus was mainly adolescent substance abuse and bringing awareness to that idea specifically. So yeah, in other areas of our film, we've definitely tried to push local foundations and alliances.
That's great.
Okay, hello. So first I just want to say that the acting in this film was unbelievable. This was really truly some of the best acting I've ever seen, and the fact that this was made by people under 20 years old, I don't believe it. I mean, it is really truly incredible. And I think you handled, I know you obviously handled some incredibly adult themes that I think like most real, like 50-year-old adults could not begin to comprehend. I'm kind of curious about how the adults in your life have reacted to this film, and you know, I mean, just because it is so impactful and it's so emotionally raw that I really do think so many real, just experienced adults cannot begin to comprehend this. I would just love to know about your experience with that.
Thank you for your question. I think a lot of the adults in my life, such as relatives or people that were closely associated with the film, that have already seen the film, I think they had a very great response to it and a very compassionate, sort of emotional response to it, which is what we want, of course. And I think it's always going to be hard to really understand films that you may not be able to relate to. And I think with this film, there may be a generational gap between my generation and adolescent substance abuse and then older generations. But nonetheless, I think any adult or just anyone out there that is struggling or knows someone that is struggling, they can really, hopefully, relate to this film and the material depicted. And my only hope would be that adults have compassion for the characters and have compassion for people like the characters.
Yeah, the adults in my life are pretty supportive of it as well. They haven't seen it yet, but they know what it's about. And they've been very supportive.
That's awesome. Do we have any other questions for the filmmakers? Nope.
Thank you to Charlotte, Ted, and the rest of the team for setting up this really amazing festival to spotlight young filmmakers in New York State. So thank you for having us. And
Absolutely.
thank you to everyone that stayed. Thank you.
So I know you guys have yet to have your official premiere for this film. Do you want to let everybody know when and where that's happening and how they can get more information about it?
Sure. So first off, we're on Letterboxd and IMDb. So if you like the film or you didn't like the film, go rate it on Letterboxd or IMDb. As far as when you can see it officially, we'll be premiering it at Sayville Theater on November 8th, which is a Friday night. We also have an Instagram where we post pretty regularly updates on the film. You can follow it at EdgeXFilm. Also my own personal film page, Sid Cinematics. And yeah, Letterboxd, November 8th, Sayville Theater, and EdgeXFilm on Instagram.com.
Amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you guys so much. Thank you.
Okay, so that wraps up the Long Island Youth Film Festival. Thank you so much to everybody who was able to join us this weekend and make it all the way through. It means a whole lot to us. So thank you so much for coming.